Hello everyone, I'm Jackie. I'm with the West Cook Homeownership Center program, and with me today we have our Executive Director, Athena Williams. Athena, how are you doing today?
I'm great, Jackie. How are you today?
I'm great. I had a great weekend. I'm glad that you're here with me today because we're going to be going over something really exciting. Tell us a little bit about what we're talking about today.
So first of all, I want to say and make sure that everybody had a wonderful weekend. It was Mother's Day. The weather was nice. It was just awesome outside. So, a post-Happy Mother's Day to everyone out there, including some of our fathers who have dual roles. So I understand that. So Happy Mother's Day, everybody. So today, Jackie, we are going to recap our Austin Community Housing Services Summit, which is an event that we talked about the last time we were here. It was an awesome event. We had over 180 people actually RSVP. We also had about 130 people who actually showed up on a rainy day. That day was so rainy. It was dreary outside, but we had people actually come out to learn about everything from being a renter to becoming a homeowner to saving their home, as well as passing their home along. It was a really great event.
That's wonderful. I'm glad so many people were able to come out. It was rainy, and so many people came out with a lot of enthusiasm, ready to find the right resources for themselves.
In addition to the attendees, we had 22 vendors, and we actually had several speakers. Several of our vendors were actually speakers on our panel, too.
That's wonderful. Well, let's jump right into it. Let's talk a little bit about what was discussed at the actual Austin Community Housing Services Summit.
So the first thing on our agenda was housing sustainability. So housing sustainability is not just about home ownership. It's about, if you're a renter, how to become stabilized in your apartment. If you're a homeowner, how to become stabilized in your home. So one of the first things that we talked about that was a really, really big issue was how does a renter work with the police department to make sure that they are not being illegally locked out of their apartments by their property owners. Now, I'll have to tell you, at West Cook, which is a program of Oak Park Regional Housing Center, we work with property owners as well as renters, but we want to make sure that the property owners are doing the right thing, just like we make sure that the renters are doing the right thing. So this video that we're about to present to you is 8 minutes long, so we want you to grab your popcorn, grab whatever you want to grab, but we want you to sit here and watch this, particularly if you're a renter, and even if you're not a renter, because this is information that everyone should have. And this is information on how we need to work with our property owners and information that renters should have to secure their housing stability. So Jackie, can you show the video?
Hello, I'm First Deputy Superintendent Eric Carter from the Chicago Police Department. Thank you for allowing us to talk with you today about the important topic. This video is meant to serve as a brief train on illegal lockouts. Joining me today is Commissioner Marissa Novara from the Department of Housing, John Bartlett from the Metropolitan Tenants Organization, and Mark Schwartz from the Lawyers Committee for Better Housing. To start us off, I invite Commissioner Novara to share more about what she and the Department of Housing are hearing from the residents of Chicago.
Hello, I'm Commissioner Marissa Novara with the Department of Housing for the City of Chicago. The relationship between a landlord and a tenant can break down for any number of reasons. And some landlords do not want to wait for the tenant's lease to expire or for a legal eviction process to take place. These landlords may instead take matters into their own hands and use their control of the building to try and force the tenant to move. A landlord might change the locks to the apartment or building, plug or disable the locks, remove or block doors and windows, shut off or interfere with utility services, remove appliances, fixtures, or the tenant's personal property from the apartment, or threaten the tenant with violence if they do not move. All of these actions are considered lockouts, and it is unlawful under the Chicago Municipal Code for a landlord to do or threaten to do any of them. Tenants' apartments are their homes, and they have the right to live in and make full use of them without interference, even if the landlord wants them to move out. Lockouts are a problem that has existed in Chicago for a long time, but has become especially concerning during the COVID-19 emergency. Many tenants are out of work and struggling to pay the rent, and landlords are also experiencing financial hardship that may make them eager to force out tenants who can't pay. despite the risk of displacing people from their homes during a public health crisis. In addition, the civil courts that handle both eviction cases and tenant complaints are operating remotely and are not issuing eviction orders in compliance with the governor's moratorium on residential evictions. This may lead some landlords to resort to unlawful self-help, while at the same time leaving tenants with fewer options than ever for enforcing their rights.
My name is John Bartlett from the Metropolitan Tenants Organization. In this challenging and dangerous time, the role of the Chicago Police in preventing and resolving unlawful lockouts has never been more important. So what can officers do to assist tenants who have been unlawfully locked out? First, officers can and should respond to lockout complaints. It is a common misunderstanding that lockouts, like most landlord and tenant disputes, are a civil matter in which the police cannot intervene. That is not the case. Lockouts are not merely a civil matter. The Chicago Municipal Code and CPD Special Order S040103 give officers the right to take appropriate action up to and including effecting an arrest to ensure that landlords end unlawful lockouts. After receiving a lockout call, officers should go to the property and investigate to determine whether an unlawful lockout has in fact occurred. Officers should establish that the complainant is a tenant in the property and that the alleged offender is a landlord or the landlord's agent. If the complainant pays rent or a utility bill on a regular basis, they are a tenant. It is not necessary for the complainant to have a written lease in order for them to be considered a tenant. Likewise, it is not necessary for the alleged offender to be the owner of the building. A property manager, caretaker, maintenance person, or a friend or family member of the owner can be a landlord prohibited from locking out a tenant. I would like to turn it over to Mark Schwartz from the Lawyers Committee for Better Housing to explain this further.
Hi, I'm Mark Schwartz from the Lawyers Committee for Better Housing. Officers should also establish that a lockout occurred. We've discussed the actions and threats that are prohibited under the lockout ordinance, and they are described in detail in Chicago Municipal Code, Section 512160. It is also important that the officer validate that the tenant resides at the property. Examples of verifying residency is a copy of the lease, U.S. mail in the resident's name, driver's license, or asking a neighbor to confirm the residence of the complainant. If the landlord has taken or threatened any of the prohibited actions and the tenant residency has been confirmed, they have committed an unlawful lockout. The only common exception is where the Cook County Sheriff has enforced a court order eviction. If the responding officers determine that a landlord has unlawfully locked out a tenant or threatened a lockout, they should instruct the offending landlord to immediately end the lockout or cease the threats. Next, the responding officer should take appropriate action depending on how the offending landlord responds to the officer's instructions. If the landlord complies with instructions to immediately end the lockout, the officer should issue the landlord an administrative notice of ordinance violation, citing MCC 512160. If found guilty of the violation, the landlord is subject to fines of $200 to $500 per day that the illegal lockout was allowed to continue. If the landlord does not comply with the officer's instructions, they should arrest the landlord. And if the landlord cannot be reached or is not present at the property to arrest, instruct the complainant about how they can obtain an arrest warrant for the landlord. Responding officers should also assist the tenant in ending the lockout if it is possible to do so, such as by helping the tenant contact a locksmith. It is often the case that the landlord is not physically at the property when officers arrive, but that doesn't mean that nothing can be done to help. If the landlord is not present, ask the tenant for the landlord's phone number and call the landlord to instruct that they should come to the property and immediately end the lockout. If the landlord does not arrive to the property or answer the phone, instruct the complainant about how they can obtain an arrest warrant for the landlord. For more information on that process to help residents, visit the Department of Housing website for a one-pager on tenants' rights regarding lockouts at chicago.gov. Finally, whether or not the lockout is resolved, the officer should provide the complainant with a miscellaneous incident exception report, CPD and inform them to call 311 for additional help. This is especially important because some landlords return to the scene after you have left to lock out the tenant. The city is providing free legal help with the Lawyers Committee for Better Housing. You can direct tenants to reach us at 312-347-7600. You can also direct tenants to the Metropolitan Tenants Organization hotline at 773-292-4988. It is open from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. daily. You may also direct tenants to contact their alderperson for immediate support and resources during a lockout, as they might have community groups that can provide essential goods. And now, let's hear from First Deputy Superintendent Eric Carter again.
Both landlords and tenants are suffering through hard times, and the temptation to resort to unlawful threats and actions has never been greater. By responding promptly to lockout complaints, the Chicago Police Department can use its authority to compel landlords to end unlawful threats or actions, can play a vital role in discouraging lockouts and keeping renters in their homes and off the streets during this unprecedented health crisis. We would like to express our sincere appreciation for your time today and for all you do to keep Chicagoans safe and healthy. If you have questions or would like more detailed information about what you can do to end unlawful lockouts, please review CPD Special Order 04-0103, Landlord-Tenant Lockouts, Innkeeper-Guest Disputes, or call the District Station Supervisor.
So that was a very, very, very detailed explanation about how the tenants and the property owners should work together, and in the case that a property owner should happen to lock a tenant out, the consequences that they would have to endure. But we don't want that to happen because, as the Deputy Superintendent stated, there are so many things happening to the property owners and to the tenants that we all need to really try to work together. There was so much content in that video, Jackie, that we're going to have that video transcribed and have that information put on our website.
Definitely.
Yes, we're going to have to do that.
Yes, lots of great information. There's actually a lot more resources for people who may not be a renter, who may not be facing that. At the event, there was also foreclosure prevention discussed. Can you tell us a little bit about that, Athena?
Yes. So as you know, IDA, the Illinois Housing and Development Authority, right now they have a program out called the Illinois Homeowners Assistance Fund, which is offering up to $30,000 in emergency mortgage assistance. This assistance is for people who need help with their mortgage if they fell behind due to COVID-19, if they need help with their property taxes. There are a lot of people who, while they might be able to pay their property taxes, but they may not be able to cover their, I'm sorry, I said that the opposite way. They might be able to pay their mortgage, but they may not be able to cover their property taxes. So this assistance fund is for them as well. And it is also available for people who may need to have other assistance with their property, like some major work that needs to be done that they have not been able to get to because of COVID-19. So I would suggest that everyone goes to the IllinoisHousingHelp.org/ILHAF website to find out more information about this grant that's available. We actually had people on site taking applications and helping them with applications at this event as well.
That's right. So many people came in who maybe were struggling with mortgage payments because of the pandemic, and so they were able to be led in the right direction on how they can receive some assistance.
Yeah, so also on our agenda that day, we had the tax assessor's office. I mean, when I tell you we had a lot of information at this event, there was a lot of information to provide to that 130 plus attendees that day. So the tax assessor's office was there on site, and they provided information as well. They provided a lot of information around homeowner exemptions, and there are multiple homeowner exemptions that are available. The different homeowner exemptions that are available are the senior freeze exemption, the senior exemption for 65 and older, the persons with disabilities exemptions, veterans disabilities exemptions. There are a lot of different exemptions that are available. The Cook County Assessor's Office is there to help. They were there on that Saturday. You can go online and find them at cookcountyassessors.org. You can also see them, and we're going to put this up on the screen so that everyone can see. This is their phone number. You can reach them at 312-443-7550. If you have your phone handy, you can scan the barcode and go straight to the website, or you can just take a picture of this here from your TV where you can get the phone number, or you can go to one of the 3 locations. We are also working with the tax assessor's office to actually come out into the community to do another presentation and actually do applications on site.
That's great. That's so great to hear for so many people. Lots of great resources.
So also at the event, which was also hosted by 37th Ward Alderman Mintz, we also had the alderman who also came with our wonderful mayor, Lori Lightfoot. They actually came to the event and they did a couple of small presentations. Mayor Lightfoot actually presented about some resources that the city has available right now. I'm sure a lot of people have heard about the assistance that the mayor's office is offering, up to $500 per person, but it's a lottery, so people have to apply and they have to wait to find out if they win it. But it's a great opportunity for people to begin to close that wealth gap, to begin to stabilize their households, because an extra $500 a month, that could help people, and it's going to happen for about a year, I believe. They're also offering people who are homeowners to have security cameras installed free of charge that the city is paying for. Now that actually made me excited, because I am looking forward to working with the city to install security cameras around my home. That's a really good advantage, and people should take advantage of these services that the city is offering right now. After Mayor Lightfoot spoke, Alderman Miss came up to the podium, and she also talked a lot about her vision for homeownership and housing stability, particularly in her ward, in the 37th Ward. She spoke a lot about increasing homeownership for the Black residents in the community. She spoke a lot about stabilizing rental opportunities. She also spoke to decreasing foreclosures, decreasing evictions. She is very passionate, and she was very, very knowledgeable and supportive about what she wants for her residents in the community. She's talking about working with residents to make sure that they become financially empowered so that they can increase their home ownership. One of the steps to increasing home ownership is to really work on your finances. So you have to have your finances in place. And one of the first things you need to do is to do credit debt management counseling. In addition to credit debt management counseling, you want to get connected to a financial institution, a credible financial institution. A lot of people, when you have your cell phone, there's apps that you can use to deposit a check. There's apps you can use to spend your money. I can't name any because I don't have clearance to name any on this show, because this is a public show. But I'm sure people know the different apps that are out there. But there's nothing like working with a credible financial institution where you can become banked. Did you know that in Austin alone, that 1/3 of Austin is unbanked? So that means that there's about, if I memory serves me correctly, about 60,000 residents in Austin. That means about 20,000 do not bank with the credible financial institution. And it's the credible financial institutions that are able to help individuals really acquire the things that they're looking for. Even when it comes to a car loan, even when it comes to a personal loan, you really should have a relationship with a credible institution.
Absolutely. That's really integral for anybody trying to take big steps in their housing, and especially in the Austin community. That's really important, and that was something the alderman was really advocating for as well.
Yes. So one of the things that the alderman also spoke about was the number of vacant properties, and she wants to see people come in and begin to either rehab the vacant properties that are there, or to acquire some of the vacant lots and build new homes on these vacant lots that are in the community. So one of the areas in the community is called the Micro Market Recovery Program. It's an initiative through the city of Chicago in about 10, maybe 12 communities in Chicago. And the initiative is an area in these communities that is a highly blighted area that has a high number of vacant lots or vacant properties that need to be rehabbed or properties to be built on. In Austin, there's approximately 110 vacant lots in the MMRP. Again, that's the Micro Market Recovery Program area in the city of Chicago in the 37th Ward. So Alderman Miss spoke a lot about that. She spoke about the need to bring the community back through rehabilitating some of these homes as well as building homes in the community that would also help people of color to become homeowners by increasing that inventory. Other things that you see happening in the micro market recovery program area is a lot of extensive outreach to the families that are there, a lot of extensive outreach to the building owners that are there to really support Black by Block, to really bring that MMRP area back to a revitalized neighborhood.
That would be beautiful to see.
So another thing that Alderman Mitz really spoke to was some of the developments that are happening in her area. She talked about the fact that there's a new project coming on the corner of Chicago Avenue and Laramie, the redevelopment of the Laramie State Bank, which we'll have a special show where we talk about that project, because they're gonna actually renovate the historical Laramie Bank and bring 76 new rental apartments to the community. Of course, as I just mentioned, she talked about the micro market recovery program area with the 110 vacant lots. And then in addition to that, she spoke to the fact that there are more than 500 vacant lots in 3 of the wards that cover the Austin community. As a matter of fact, the exact number is almost 850 vacant lots, where she's really looking for people to come in, work with her, work with the other aldermen to really bring revitalized community and housing back to the community.
Those are some amazing resources and upcoming projects coming up, and especially in a community that's 1/3 of the population isn't banked, especially having a bank in the community, serving that community is going to be really transformative.
Yes, so the next thing we're going to talk about, we've talked all of this time about the resources, about trying to build up homes on these vacant lots. So how are people going to acquire these homes once they're built? Or how are people going to acquire these rehab homes once they've been remodeled or rehabilitated? So we at Oak Park Regional Housing Center, we teach home ownership through the West Cook Homeownership program. So the homebuyer progress, I'm so sorry, you all. That's just how excited I am about doing this show today, sharing all these resources. But the homebuyer process is really almost a 10-step process where the first thing you should do is meet with a home buyer counselor through a HUD-approved agency. Now, for those of you who don't know, Oak Park Regional Housing Center is a HUD-approved agency with a HUD-approved program through the West Cook Homeownership Center, which is located at 5934 West Lake Street in Chicago, of course. That's on the corner of Austin and Lake, and the phone number there is 773-887-5187. So that's the first step in your process, is to meet with a HUD counselor. Then you take the home buyer education class. It's an 8-hour class, although we have multiple ways to take that 8 hours, but it's an 8-hour class where you actually go through the entire process. You meet some of the industry professionals in the home buying process, but it's an 8-hour class where you literally come out knowing and understanding the home buyer process, starting with working with the realtor, working with the lender, working with the inspector. You must have your home inspected before you purchase it, because if you don't, you're going to end up getting a lot of surprises. You also work with the attorney who's going to help you close on the property, and the insurance agency. Those are the 5 most important industry professionals that you're going to work with in the home buying process, in addition to several others. But those are the main 5 that we make sure that you meet during the process.
And meeting with a West Cook Homeownership Center team member is really helpful, because if your finances aren't exactly where you need them to be to take those steps in purchasing your home, they also offer other counseling and educational opportunities to get you to that place. So whether you're considering buying a house and you just want to work with somebody on getting you to that place, go ahead and contact the West Cook Homeownership Center, and one of the housing counselors can help you out.
And here's our information once again. So thank you for that, Jackie. So during the process, or during the agenda for the summit, as I stated, we had some of our partners there, and one of our partners was BMO Harris, and BMO Harris spoke specifically to financial empowerment. The presenter was Loretta Miner. She is the CRA officer for BMO Harris, and she shared with the attendees how important it is to know your credit score, know how to read your credit report, and how to get your finances in order before you purchase a home. It was very, very powerful.
It sounds really powerful. And sure there were other people there who were providing excellent resources for the home buying process as well.
Oh, yeah. So we had, of those 22 vendors, we had probably about 8 lenders, and all the lenders are banking partners. Even a couple of lenders who weren't banking partners, they all talk about financial services. However, you're not going to get all of your financial empowerment until you meet your HUD-approved counselor.
That's right. Who else was there helping people with the lending process?
So we had Huntington Bank, who is a preferred partner of the West Cook Homeownership program, and Akeem Henderson is our contact person with Huntington Bank for all of our lending and all of our loans. And basically, he shared some of the most important things that a person should know when working with a lender. Which the irony is, the things he shared were almost the same as the things that Loretta shared about financial empowerment, which was get your credit right, understand your credit report, and he also shared the importance of getting your documentation in order.
That's right.
However, I'm going to go back and talk about the HUD-approved agency and their counselors who work with you to get all that paperwork in order.
That's right.
So as you see, all of this flows together. You work with your HUD counselor who works with your lender to help you get your paperwork together, who, before you even do any of that, you work with your HUD counselor to get your finances in order.
That's a solid order to do things really stably and ensure that housing for yourself and ensuring the stability of your housing. Now, what other resources were there for people who were looking for property redevelopment resources or refinancing resources?
So we had our great partner from CIBC, Roberto Internano. And Roberto, I am going to apologize because I know you're watching, and we are going to work on my pronunciation to get your last name right, but I'm going to spell it today. Roberto, Interino. So that's Roberto at CIBC, who CIBC has great products that focus on property development. So they have a product where they can work with developers who are building in the low to moderate income home areas. And then they also have great refinance products. So Roberto spoke to those products for people who were there, developers who want to get more information about financing, as well as people who look at refinancing as an option of a way to prevent foreclosure. So he was there for that, and he did a great job.
That's a good myriad of resources, too, to help people at different stages of what they might be looking for.
Right. So, and as I stated, the agenda that day was all about housing sustainability and housing stability. So one of the last things I want to touch on is the property development piece. As Alderman Miss stated, there are so many vacant properties, and a lot of people don't understand that there's options for financing and funding to be able to build and rehab these properties. And what Jackie has just put on the screen are these different institutions, and you can Google search these institutions and you'll get the information. So CIBC, Chicago Community Loan Fund, and of course CIC, and then the City of Chicago has a myriad of RFPs and grants that are out right now to help people really revitalize the communities. And I have to say, I want to give Mayor Lightfoot a shout out because of all my years of living, being a resident, and working in the City of Chicago. I have not seen these type of resources and these type of opportunities available to everybody, particularly on the south and west sides of Chicago.
That it's sad to hear, but it's exciting to see that these changes are coming right now, and exciting to think about what's going to be coming to the communities in the future.
Yes. So last but not least, we want to talk about the how to pass the legacy of home ownership to your loved ones. So we had a partner at the summit, which was the Center for Disability and Elder Law. So they were there, and they actually spent quite a bit of time showing different ways that people can pass their legacy to their loved ones.
What does that mean to pass their legacy on to their loved ones?
So when people change of life, so when people tend to, like if they get married, they don't put the property in a different name, or when they become a senior, they don't put the property in the child's name. So if they pass on, after they've become deceased, the property ends up just standing there. It becomes what's called a ghost property, or a family member has to go through the steps to try to get the property transferred. So what the Center for Disability and Elder Law does, they provide free legal services to low-income seniors and people living with disabilities. They focus on systemic issues which have disproportionate impact on the clientele, including housing and end-of-life planning. And it's that end-of-life planning I was speaking to, when a lot of people don't really transfer or leave a trust or anything for their property to pass on to their family for generations.
And for people who care, and many do, about passing on that generational wealth, which is so often done through housing, this is really important for people who want to ensure that legacy, just like the title implies.
Yes. So they also provide individual representation in court. They also provide community clinics. They do community programming, and then they also just meet with people on the individual level, just to give them more information that they can understand how to manage things. And if you want to reach out to the Center for Disabilities and Elder Law, we're going to put their slide up in a minute with their contact information.
Yes, we have their main office number. That's 312-376-1880, and their office is also in Chicago, 205 West Randolph in Chicago, Illinois.
So Jackie, this has been a lot of information that we just ran through our agenda from April 30th at the Austin Housing Services Summit. That event was from literally 9:30 to 2:30 because people literally started lining up at 9 a.m. and they were there until 2 o'clock, and we just crunched it in about 40 minutes to try to share this information with the public. So again, if people are looking for information, they can go to our website. They can also call our office at 773-887-5187, and one of our counselors can assist. And that's it for today.
Yeah, and again, if you want to visit the website just to get a general scope of what we do at the West Cook Homeownership Center program, go ahead and visit westcookhomeownership.org. Or as Athena said, you can go ahead and call us at 773-887-5187.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, everybody.
All right, bye-bye.